Welcome back to the Bulldog Insider. Time now for Xfinity Open Mic with Joey Myers. He played at Beiden Field from 2000 to 2003. Joey, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's our pleasure. Now, let me ask you first about Casey McGehee, since the news just broke today. You played with him at Fresno State, so knowing him and knowing what he's gone through with his son and playing in Japan, how do you think he'll react to being DFA'd?
Well, what's nice with Casey, he came in when I was a sophomore. And he was, we always joke that he could stand on his head and hit a ball hard. And when he got the Comeback Player of the Year, coming back from Japan and playing with the Marlins and hitting behind Giancarlo Stanton, that was huge for him as the comeback player, because a lot of players that go to Japan that end up coming back and playing, I mean, you have a new appreciation for baseball because they work so hard in Japan. Our guys do here too, but in Japan it's a whole nother level. And so he came back and did really well. I think that Casey's going to be a grinder. He's going to go down, he's going to report, he's going to work hard, get back up again. Sometimes it just takes a jolt for some of these guys to just say, you know what, I gotta get my butt in gear.
Well, what's your take on the current Dogs as we move forward to the next decade? They won a couple of games at the Mountain West Tournament, but the goal every year is to win the conference tournament and get a ring. So what's your take on what they were able to do and unfortunately not do in Reno?
So what's interesting with the conference tournament is we didn't have that when I was playing. And we either had to be first or second. If we were second, we had to have a good record. Now, since they have that tournament, it gives a team who maybe doesn't have as good of a year be able to come back and win the tournament and go on like they did in 2008. So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to take it in stride. And what they learn, I mean, I'm curious to see what happened in May, the beginning of May, when the pitchers start pitching, hitters start hitting. I want to see what kind of conversation was had between the guys where they took off and started hitting the road again, whereas the season before that they weren't doing as well. So they're going to learn something definitely from May until now and be able to take that into the next season. I think that's going to make them stronger.
Well, the last 2 years, and we mentioned it earlier, they did not have a winning record. This particular season they did. They didn't get a ring, but we'll obviously see what happens next year. Now, we'll talk more about your Fresno State career in a second, but I want to bring up something you founded, Hitting Performance Lab. You have a baseball background, you have experience in biomechanics, so tell our viewers what it means to, and I think I have this right, quote, swinging smarter by moving better.
So my background is in corrective fitness over the last 10 years. People come to me, have a knee pain, and want to see how they can correct that. So what I took was my experience in baseball and hitting, and took my background in corrective fitness and started doing some research and reading up. And what I found was that there's specific proven human movement science that wasn't being applied to hitting. Hitting's kind of a dinosaur sport. Golf is so much far forward when it comes forward thinking that I created a video blog that does online lessons and local lessons and has digital products, but it's all about taking proven human movement science and applying them to hitting a unknown moving pitch, because that's really what it is. Hitters don't know what it is that's coming. So mechanics have to be efficient. It's just like if in your backyard you have sprinklers. If you have a line that's leaking, your sprinklers aren't going to have as much pressure. So when we talk about transferring energy from the body into the ball, the pitch, trying to hit it as far as we can, we have to be able to fix that leak or energy leak, like if we're talking about mechanics, so that now we get the sprinkler pressure that we're looking for. So when we're talking about hitting, the energy transfer into that ball.
You know, you sound a lot like John Brinkus of ESPN Sports Science, which
right.
That was the first thing I was thinking. Maybe we can do some tests. But on your website, you do some analytic work on Stephen Vogt, for example. Valley guy, went to CVC in Visalia, might be an all-star this year. Why him? Why did you pick him? And I know there's other examples as well.
Yeah, so I did an experiment, and I used a ZEP baseball app, which attaches to the knob of the bat, and it measures bat speed, hand speed, and all these different metrics. With Stephen Vogt, when you look at his metrics, you look at his fly ball percentage, his line drive percentages, and his ground ball percentage, that he's above average in fly ball percentage. Line drive percentage is about league average, and his ground ball percentage is actually below average. So he gets the ball in the air a lot more. So the test that I ran was I did 100 swings where during my swing, I had a 90 degree with my back knee. The other 100 swings I took was a straight back leg, or as straight as I could get it. And what I found was that just by bending the back knee during the turn, we can get the ball in the air a little bit better. Now, not so much fly balls as in out fly balls, but driving the ball a little bit better, because really in reality, the pitch plane or pitcher's release point down into the catcher's glove is on a downward angle. And if you watch sports science, it's what they talk about. And so a hitter's objective is to get that barrel on that plane upward to match the plane. That's how you're going to get increase in batting average, slugging percentage, and all that. So that back knee during the turn, getting at 90, plays an integral role of getting that barrel on that upward plane. And that was something that Stephen Vogt does really, really well.
All right, well, we're going to show some file video of you playing, and here's my question for you. No, we've got some great highlights here, and that's the funny thing, because on one of the online blogs that you contribute to, you talked about how you were just an average player at Fresno State. We found plenty of your highlights, though. Now, here's the question for you, though, Joey. What made you realize that you could have been better, and why didn't you realize it until your Bulldog career was done?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And one of the big things was, I tell my hitters that the reason I didn't go on and play pro ball was because of my mechanics. My mechanics were my limiting ceiling. And I just talked about the sprinklers, the sprinkler pressure. And for me, I was leaking a lot of energy. And I can look at video and see different things. Yeah.
See this home run?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was Long Beach State, right?
Long Beach State. Yeah, that was a big one for me. That was a kind of a turning point mentally for me. But definitely looking back, I could have done better. And I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'10", 165 pounds soaking wet. So it wasn't like I could get off on merit. I wasn't a 6'4" guy. I wasn't a big guy. So for me, I had to do better mechanically. I mean, I worked hard. I was there a lot, just hitting. But there's only so many hours in a day. And at the end of the day, you have to be more efficient. You have to fix those energy leaks. And that was something I had a lot of. And I tell my hitters, back in the day, it was my mechanics were my limiting ceiling.
Well, sounds great. Unfortunately, we are out of time on this segment, but if people want to get a hold of you, what's the information?
Go to hittingperformancelab.com, and there's a free video that you can add 48 feet of batted ball distance just by changing one thing. So if you go to the site, it'll show up right there.
All right. He's Joey Myers, Fresno State player from 2000 to 2003, and the founder of Hitting Performance Lab. Thanks for joining the Bulldog Insider.
Thanks for having me on, Andrew.
Hey, my pleasure, Joey.